I stood by the front door on Christmas morning, coffee in hand, gift under my arm, heart pounding like a child waiting for Santa. But there was no knock, no footsteps, just snow falling in silence and a house that felt colder than outside. 3 weeks ago, Laura had mentioned something about a trip. Aspen, I think. But I was in Zurich for a pitch, then London, then LA. I thought we'd talk details when I got back. I assumed I'd be invited. I assumed I mattered. When I called her that morning, it rang once, then voicemail. The message read, "We're here safe. The kids are skiing. Hope you're having a peaceful day." That's it. Not wish you were here. Not Merry Christmas. Just nothing. That's when I noticed it. The envelope Emma had left on my desk, weeks ago. I had shoved it under my laptop during a Zoom call. Now, with trembling hands, I opened it. "Dad, if you want to come, we leave on the 22nd. I know you're busy, but maybe this year, choose us." I never read it, never responded. I had a corner office, a company car, and a title that made people shake my hand. But this Christmas, my 17-year-old daughter thought she had to ask for a seat at the table with her father, and I missed it. If you're the kind of man who thinks you're doing it all for them, let me show you what happens when them learns how to live without you. My name is Richard Walker. I'm 52 years old, and by every external measure, I made it. But no one ever asks what I had to trade for the life I built. I was born on the wrong side of Detroit. My mother worked nights cleaning offices while battling lupus. My older brother Danny dropped out of school at 16 and spiraled into addiction. By the time I was 10, I had learned 3 rules. Don't get sick, don't get noticed, and don't stay here. So I ran. Not with legs, but with ambition. College was my lifeboat. I studied pharmaceutical economics, worked nights at a gas station, and slept 4 hours a night. One evening, in the student health center, I met Laura. She was a nursing intern with tired eyes and a laugh that cracked through my armor. We married 2 years after graduation. No big ceremony, just a courthouse, a simple dinner, and a silent vow between us. We'd build something better than what we came from. We had Emma first, then Caleb. Laura became a pediatric nurse. I landed a job at Metastride as a junior rep. We were broke, but in love. Every Christmas, we made hot cocoa from scratch, watched It's a Wonderful Life in pajamas, and stayed up late talking about nothing. I swore I'd never become the kind of man who missed Christmas, but success creeps in like frost on a window. Silent, beautiful, dangerous. Within 6 years, I was a regional manager, then national accounts. Our address changed. The cars got nicer. Emma got her own room. Laura quit her night shifts. And then came the first real test. Emma was 7. That December, Laura's father died suddenly, a heart attack in his sleep. The funeral was set for December 23rd, but I'd been scheduled for a keynote presentation at a global medical summit in Chicago. Laura begged me to come back early just for the burial. I told her the speech would only be 30 minutes. "We'll do a second Christmas when I get back," I promised. I gave the speech. It went well. Our stock ticked up 0.5%. I missed the funeral, missed Laura's tears, missed Emma placing a crayon drawing in the casket. They sent me a picture. I double-tapped it and went back to my laptop. It wasn't that I didn't care. I was trying to secure our future. That's what I told myself, over and over, like a prayer, like a lie. As my career soared, our lives became more efficient. I kept a second phone for work. I started flying on Sundays to get ahead of Monday traffic. I bought a sleep mask for red eyes and began tracking my steps in airport lounges. When Caleb was diagnosed with ADHD, Laura didn't tell me for 2 weeks. "You were in Tokyo," she said. "I didn't want to stress you." I felt something twist in my stomach, but I nodded. "Thanks for handling it." I told myself I was lucky to have such a capable partner. But slowly, the stories she used to share, what Emma said in class, Caleb's soccer goals, stopped coming. The updates turned into summaries, then into silence. At night, I'd come home late and see her scrolling through her phone, the kids already asleep. I assumed we were just tired. Everyone's tired. Caleb started slamming his door a lot. Emma was always in her room with headphones. "They're just teens," I told myself. "They'll grow out of it." One afternoon, my assistant handed me a stack of unopened mail forwarded from corporate. Inside were several envelopes, childlike handwriting, stickers, Emma's name on everyone. Inside the first was a drawing, stick figures holding hands. Me, Mom, Caleb, and Dad at the park. The second was a letter. "Dear Dad, we missed you at the recital. I danced like you said. I hope your meeting was good." They were dated monthly, for the last 6 months. I had never opened them, never knew they existed. My office mail went unopened because I thought, if it's important, they'll call. When I got home that night, Emma was in her room, door cracked. I knocked gently. "Hey, kiddo," I said. "Thanks for the letters." She looked at me like I had spoken Swahili. "What letters?" I held them up. "These." She blinked. "Those were from last year." Her voice didn't break. Mine did. I sat in my car for 30 minutes that night, the letters on my lap. I had every reason in the world. Growth targets, expansion plans, client pitches, but not one of them could explain why my daughter thought she had to remind me she existed. It didn't happen all at once. I didn't wake up one day to a broken home. It was quieter than that, like walls built of silence, one brick at a time. Laura started volunteering at the local children's hospital on weekends. At first, I thought it was sweet. "Good for her," I said, without asking what prompted it. She rekindled old friendships. High school classmates I didn't know she still remembered. There were book clubs, charity auctions, group dinners. She stopped waiting up for me. Our schedules used to overlap. Now they ran parallel. Emma barely looked up when I got home. Her door was always closed, the faint thump of her music the only proof she was inside. She used to jump into my arms when I walked in the door. "Now," she texted Laura from across the hall. Caleb, Caleb started calling his soccer coach Dad as a joke. I laughed the first time, until I realized he wasn't joking. "He shows up," Caleb had shrugged. I was halfway through replying when Laura gently touched my arm. "Let it go," she said. "You were traveling that week." That week? I'd been traveling every week. I started noticing small changes. There were fewer pictures of me in the house. I used to be on the fridge, in frames on the mantel. One day, I realized they'd all been replaced. Caleb's team photo, Emma's prom, Laura and the kids at a charity walk. Not one included me. I wasn't angry. I was confused and scared. I didn't know how to ask what I already feared. Then one night, I opened the wrong drawer looking for batteries and found a prescription bottle. Laura's name, antidepressants. I stared at it for a long time. She hadn't said a word. Later that evening, I asked, "Everything okay?" She didn't look up from her book. "Fine." I nodded. "You seem tired lately." She turned a page. "So do you." I never brought it up again. She had been carrying so much alone, and I was too distracted to notice. One Saturday, She suggested we see a marriage counselor. I agreed immediately. Then I canceled. Last-minute call with a European investor. Then again, sales summit. Then again, CEO fly-in. 5 times I said yes. 5 times I said, just not this week. Eventually, she stopped asking. I promised to make it to Emma's graduation. She had worked so hard. Her speech had been selected. I bought a suit, cleared my calendar, even practiced what I'd say to her after. But then the Singapore client moved up the presentation. Just one morning, I told myself. I'll make it back by dinner. The flight got delayed, then canceled. I watched her speech on a live stream from a hotel lobby across the world. She said, "My mother taught me how to show up, even when it's hard." She didn't mention me. Laura didn't call. Emma didn't text. Caleb didn't ask what happened when I got home. The next morning, I saw a manila envelope half-tucked beneath the couch. Inside was a copy of divorce papers, not signed, not stamped, just there, waiting. In the top drawer of her desk, I later found a note scribbled on yellow legal paper. "Do I do this before or after Christmas?" it read. But there was no final page, no signature, only a tear stain that had warped the ink. I sat on the floor, envelope in hand, unable to breathe. That night, I watched Caleb sleeping. He was clutching something. I leaned in. It was one of my suit jackets. Crumpled, too big for him, still with a dry cleaner's tag. I stood there for a long time, watching him, listening to his breath. I wasn't there. But some part of me still meant something to him. Laura hadn't filed. Emma hadn't blocked me. Caleb hadn't let go. There was still time. But I was already out of excuses, and the clock was ticking louder than ever. The email came on December 15th. Subject line, Global VP offer, final terms. I stared at the blinking cursor as the CEO's assistant explained that they needed my signature by the 24th to finalize the board vote. It was everything I had worked toward. A global division under my leadership, full autonomy, stock options that could retire 3 generations. I barely looked up from my screen when Laura walked by with 2 suitcases. "You packing early?" I asked. She paused. "We leave the 22nd. Aspen." I nodded. "You mentioned that, right? I'll book my ticket tonight." She didn't say anything, just zipped the last bag and left the room. That night, I opened my laptop and got buried in slide decks and transition documents. I never booked the ticket. On the morning of December 25th, I woke up to silence. No smell of cinnamon rolls, no laughter, no wrapping paper. Just my phone buzzing. A video message from Emma. I sat up in bed and pressed play. They were standing in front of a massive log cabin, snow falling around them. Laura, Emma, Caleb, all bundled in coats, beanies, smiling. Behind them, the Rocky Mountains stretched into sky. Emma held the phone out. "Merry Christmas, Dad," she said. Laura added, "Hope your meetings went well." Caleb leaned in. "We're doing fine, you know, even without you." The video cut off. I stared at the screen, replayed it. Again. I called Laura. It rang once, then straight to voicemail. I scrolled through our texts. Nothing since the 20th. I checked Emma's name. A heart emoji next to it. Last message. "Have a great quarter, Dad." Then I remembered the envelope. Weeks ago, something red and gold had come in the mail. Emma's handwriting. I had shoved it under a stack of contracts. My hands shook as I dug through my briefcase. There it was, still sealed. I opened it slowly. Inside was a Christmas card with glittery snowmen and crooked stickers. Dad. If you want to come, we leave on the 22nd. I know you're busy, but maybe this year, choose us. Dated December 2nd. I couldn't breathe. I had always assumed they'd wait, that I could catch a late flight, surprise them, fix it like I always did. But this wasn't a missed dinner or a soccer game. They hadn't forgotten me. They had stopped expecting me. I sat at the kitchen table, phone in one hand, card in the other. I stared at the blinking light on the coffee maker, then at the empty living room. The stockings were still hung, my name still stitched into one. I was part of the decorations, not the memory. I called again, straight to voicemail. This time, I left a message. Laura, I saw the video. I read Emma's card. I didn't know. Please call me. She didn't. I opened Instagram. Emma's profile was private now. Caleb's was gone completely. I clicked on Laura's name. One new post, a picture of the three of them on a ski lift. Caption: sometimes peace is letting go. I called again. Nothing. That night, I opened an old shoebox from my closet. Emma's baby socks, Caleb's first crayon drawing, a photo strip of Laura and me kissing under a 4th of July firework. I had held on to these things like anchors, but they were drifting. The next morning, I checked my email. One new message from Emma. No subject. Inside was one sentence. I used to write about you in my college essays. I called you my hero. Then, after a pause, now I just write some guy we used to know. I don't remember standing or walking to the bathroom, but I remember gripping the sink, staring at my own face, and not recognizing the man in the mirror. There was no one to blame. Not anymore. Not my clients. Not my job. Not even the clock. It was me. Just me. On January the 2nd, I walked into my office and handed in my resignation. My boss blinked at me like I'd lost my mind. You're one signature away from Global VP, he said. Just sign the damn thing. I shook my head. I've already signed too much. You realize you'll never get this chance again? I already lost something I'm not getting back. He didn't try to stop me, just leaned back, nodded slowly, and said, Godspeed, Donovan. By noon, I had cleared out my desk. I bought a last-minute flight to Aspen, window seat, no return date. When I landed, the air hit different, sharper, more honest. I rented a car and drove up the mountain roads, snow crunching beneath tires, trees heavy with silence. My hands gripped the wheel like it could hold me together. I pulled into the resort just after sunset. Lights glowing inside the lodge, laughter spilling out as families toasted marshmallows near the fire pit. I parked across the street. Watched. Laura and the kids walked out, wrapped in scarves, cheeks pink from cold and joy. Caleb tossed a snowball at Emma, who ducked and laughed. I stayed in the car. I wasn't sure I had the right to interrupt that happiness. Eventually, I gathered the courage and crossed the road. My breath fogged in the night air. At the front desk, the concierge smiled. Can I help you? I'm looking for the Donovan family. Room under Laura Donovan? The woman paused, typed something. Her smile faded. I'm sorry, sir. Mrs. Donovan left instructions. If Mr. Richard Donovan arrives, we're to politely inform him that the family is not available for visits. I didn't flinch. I nodded. I understand. I took out a folded envelope from my coat pocket, a handwritten letter. Can you make sure she gets this? She hesitated, then nodded. Of course. I stepped back out into the snow, stood there for a moment. I don't remember the cold, just the silence. Then I felt it, one tear sliding down my cheek. It hit the snow and disappeared. I didn't fly home. I booked a room at a cheap inn 10 minutes away. Spent New Year's Eve alone, watching fireworks from a frosted window, wondering if they even looked up to see them. On January 4th, Laura called. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "I got your letter." I didn't breathe. "I'm not going to tell you it fixes everything," she said. "But if you're willing to prove this isn't another gesture, we might have a path forward." I nodded like she could see me. "Anything. We're heading back tomorrow. I won't come to the airport." "Good." Then silence. Before she hung up, she said, "It'll take more than words." The next week, I moved out of our family home and into a one-bedroom apartment, the same complex we'd lived in during our first year of marriage. I canceled the leased Mercedes, took the train. I applied for a part-time teaching assistant role at a local college's business department. Every morning, I texted both kids, "Good morning. I love you." Caleb never replied. Emma sent a single thumbs up once. Nothing else. I went to every soccer practice Caleb had. Stood behind the fence, didn't approach, just stood there. One evening, after practice, he looked up. Our eyes met. He looked away. Progress. Laura and I had dinner once a week. Sometimes she stayed 20 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes not at all. I didn't push. I didn't plead. I just showed up. On February 1st, I opened my company email to clear out the inbox I hadn't touched since I left. Amid the junk and old memos, one subject line stood out. "To Dad." It was from Emma. She had sent it 2 days earlier. The same way I'd ignored so many of her letters. I opened it. "Thought I'd try reaching you the way you used to ignore us. Fair's fair, right?" I smiled. It hurt. Then, "Mom says you're trying. Caleb doesn't believe it. I want to. But don't expect hugs or Christmas cards yet." And finally, "We don't need you to fix everything. Just show up. For real this time." I closed the laptop and cried for the first time in years. Not because it hurt, but because maybe, just maybe, there was still a way back. It started with a glance. At Caleb's next practice, he didn't look away. He looked right at me, held it for a second longer, and then nodded. Not a smile, just a nod. That night, I got my first text from him in months. "Coach says you stood there the whole time." "Weird," I replied. "Weird, but proud." No response. 2 days later, it snowed lightly. I got to practice early and stood by the chain link fence again. As the kids finished drills, Caleb broke off from the group, jogged toward me, and tossed a ball my way. "Bet you can't still pass straight," he said. I dropped my coffee, caught the ball on instinct, and smiled. "I'll take that bet." We stayed for 20 minutes after everyone else left, just passing the ball back and forth. No big talk, no drama. But with each kick, something invisible started stitching itself back together. Emma saw it happen. From a distance, maybe. Or maybe through Laura. Either way, a week later, I got a text from her. "You free Saturday?" I was. She asked to meet at the library cafe where we used to go when she was little. She was already seated when I arrived, coffee in hand, earbuds dangling around her neck. I stood awkwardly, unsure if I should hug her. She solved it by sliding a chair out with her foot. We talked. Mostly about her classes, some about her friends, a little about Caleb, nothing deep. But it was a conversation. A real one. When I got up to leave, I hesitated. "Thanks for meeting me," I said. She shrugged. It was time. Then she looked at me. "Keep doing what you're doing. Just keep showing up." The next evening, I made dinner reservations at a small Italian place near our old apartment. I invited Laura, Emma, and Caleb. I didn't expect all three to say yes, but they did. Laura arrived last. She wore the same green coat she'd worn when we were first dating. I didn't mention it, but she caught me staring and said, "I almost didn't come." "I would have understood," I said. We ate in near silence for the first few minutes. Then Caleb cracked a joke about my spaghetti skills from years ago, and Emma laughed. Laura smiled. Halfway through dessert, Caleb reached into his backpack and pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper. He handed it to me. I opened it slowly. It was his old windbreaker, blue with a torn cuff and faded logo. "I thought maybe you needed something," he said. "You know, for the cold." I blinked. "Caleb, this is yours." He shrugged. "I outgrew it. Plus, I figured your heart isn't used to the weather these days." Laura choked on her wine. Emma laughed out loud. I couldn't speak, just nodded, smiling like a man who'd been thrown a lifeline. Over the next few weeks, something shifted. Slowly. Not magically, but genuinely. Laura started sending me texts that didn't feel like business memos. Emma sent me a playlist of her favorite songs. No judging, Dad. Caleb invited me to one of his games. I showed up, early, and I cheered until my voice cracked. In March, I was offered a part-time role at Caleb's school, helping coach and mentor seniors interested in business careers. I accepted without hesitation. I wasn't Mr. Donovan anymore. I was just Coach D. At night, I took cooking classes. I burned lasagna and undercooked chicken. Laura tasted every attempt with patience, sometimes laughter. One evening, I found a sticky note on the fridge. "Family dinner Friday? You cook?" I cooked. They came. We laughed. In April, Emma suggested a family trip for spring break. "I was thinking Aspen," she said. Laura raised an eyebrow. Caleb nodded. "Let's do it right this time." And they did. This time, they included my name in the group chat. This time, the rental was in my name. This time, when we arrived at the lodge, we walked in together. That night, we sat around the fireplace, hot cocoa in hand. I forgot how nice it is to have all of us in the same place, Laura said quietly. Emma leaned against her shoulder. Caleb passed me a bag of marshmallows. No one said anything profound, but no one needed to. A few days after we got home, I logged into our Netflix account. The password had been changed. "Did we get hacked?" I asked. Laura shook her head. "No, I just updated it." I tried guessing. She smiled. "Try Family First 2025. I froze, then laughed, then typed it in. It worked. Later that week, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no stamps, just slid into my apartment mailbox. The handwriting was unmistakable. I opened it immediately. "Dear Dad," it began. No sarcasm, no bitterness. Just those two words, like a bridge rebuilt. "I don't know where we go from here, but I know I want to go there with you. Love, Emma." The auditorium was packed. Suits and ties, heels and slacks, bright lights, corporate banners, free coffee. I hadn't stood behind a podium in over a year, but when they invited me to speak at the annual leadership summit, I said yes. Not because I missed it, because I had something to say. I looked out at a sea of driven young professionals, all chasing what I once chased. I cleared my throat. I used to think success was measured by stock prices, quarterly reports, how many countries your name traveled to. But this year, my 17-year-old daughter sent me a Christmas card. It said, "Maybe this year, choose us." Silence. I let it linger. I missed recitals, birthdays, anniversaries. I told myself I was doing it for them, but truthfully, I was doing it for me, my ego, my hunger, and I almost lost everything that mattered. People shifted in their seats, a few nodded. One woman dabbed her eye. I smiled. I once chose stock options over birthday cards, but I'm here today because I finally chose right. Later, as I stepped down, a man in his 30s approached. Nervous energy, name tag crooked. "Mr. Donovan," he said, "I'm supposed to present to the board tomorrow, but it's my daughter's 5th birthday. Do you think, would it be crazy if I asked to reschedule?" I looked him straight in the eye. "Not crazy, necessary." He smiled. "Thanks. I needed that." I went home that night and rewrote my will. Not just the assets, the schedule, the intentions. I left the house and savings to my family, yes, but also left instructions to cash in unused vacation days, block off every December, and never let work outrank the people who wait at the dinner table. I gave myself time. For once. In September, Emma started college. I helped carry her boxes to the dorm room. Her roommate's parents were already crying. Laura laughed, said, "Give it 10 minutes." After everything was unpacked, Emma took me aside. "I'm giving a speech next week," she said. "Orientation thing." I nodded. "You'll be amazing. I mentioned you." That caught me. She smiled. "Want to hear it?" I just nodded. She pulled out her phone and read, "My dad used to be missing. Not like missing. He was in meetings, airports, boardrooms. He had titles, accolades, but not time." She glanced up at me, then continued. "But then he changed. He showed up. Every time. And now? He's always early, always cheering. Always the first hand I see in the crowd." I blinked fast. "Thanks for not quitting on us," she said. I kissed her forehead. "Thanks for not quitting on me." As we walked back to the car, Caleb nudged me. "Bet you cried." I grinned. "Bet you shut up." We laughed the whole drive home. 2 weeks later, Laura posted a photo online. The 4 of us standing on a snow-covered hill, arms around each other, cheeks red from wind and joy. The caption, "It's never too late." Thousands of likes, dozens of comments. But I only cared about one. Emma's. Finally, the photo we needed. I printed it, framed it, hung it in the hallway. Right next to one from a decade ago, just me, alone, in a hotel lobby. Contrast matters. One evening, Caleb walked into the kitchen while I was making dinner. "Dad?" "Yeah, bud." He hesitated. "You know, if I ever have kids, I think I want to be a dad like you." I turned, startled. "But," he added with a smirk, "the version after the midlife crisis." I burst out laughing. "Fair." He shrugged. "The second version's better anyway." We never get to erase our past. But sometimes, if we're lucky, we get to rewrite the ending. And that's what I did. With every game I attended, every meal I cooked, every time I put down my phone and looked into their eyes, I rewrote the ending. And this time, I made damn sure it included all of us.